Welcome into our Facebook Live chat. I'm Rachel Holt. I'm sitting here with Nick Goss. If you're still up on the East Coast, that probably means you just watched the mega fight between Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather, and what a fight this was. Floyd Mayweather remains undefeated. He beats McGregor by TKO in the 10th round. What did you think?
It was an amazing fight. A lot more action than we really typically expect from Floyd Mayweather fights, but even though McGregor lost, you really have to give it to him. He lasted to the 10th round. It was probably a lot longer than a lot of people expected. He had a great flurry of punches in the early rounds. I scored a 3-0 McGregor right off the bat. He came out and it was really good. But as Floyd usually does, he waited and waited, found out McGregor's timing, found out what kind of opponent he was going up against, admitted after the fight that it was a little better than he thought. But then, as Floyd usually does, pounds it in on the end and was able to get the victory.
Well, you could see the atmosphere and you could see the crowd getting into this one in Las Vegas. We're lucky enough to be joined right now by Matt Peralt, radio host with SB Nation. He's actually in Las Vegas, so he was able to witness the scene firsthand. Matt, first of all, what was the crowd like after that went down?
Well, for a very long time in Las Vegas and across the globe. They were expecting in excess of $80 to $90 million to be bet. That's more than Mayweather-Pacquiao in 2015. So it's an incredible event, an incredible spectacle. It was an amazing night here in Las Vegas, and people are going to be either celebrating or crying on their betting tickets for the next couple of hours.
Well, reading on Twitter, talking to people, they are all saying it was well worth the $100. Now, people didn't feel that way about Mayweather-Pacquiao.
No, they did not. They were very angry. They were very upset. And let me just say this at the top. What an embarrassing night for boxing. Conor McGregor walked in up against a 49-0 opponent tonight and went 10 rounds and never touched the canvas. The stoppage was early. Conor's going to have to get used to that if he wants to get going with boxing, because if he's not active, he was trying to conserve energy. His gas can has been a problem for most of his career, really. Look at the Nate Diaz fight and what happened the first time those two guys went up against each other. Conor got tired and eventually tapped out. The same thing kind of happened here tonight. He got really, really tired. It was clear from about the 7th round on. Conor was extraordinarily tired, but he wanted to finish it out. I thought he should have had the chance to finish it out, but this is new boxing rules with concussion protocol, and they don't want fighters taking punishment like that if they're not returning anything back. So it's a very similar stoppage to what happened in Ward Kovalev 2, where Kovalev was basically exhausted too in the 7th round, and Andre Ward got the TKO the same way that Mayweather got it here tonight. But McGregor was laughed at when this came out. Boxing said this fight is a joke. It never should happen. Conor has no business being in there. He won't land a punch. That was a prop. Conor won 3 rounds, not 1, not 2, 3 rounds without any debate in my mind out of the gate. And then you could argue the rest of the way as to how he did. But this is a mixed martial arts fighter coming over into boxing when everyone in boxing laughed at him, and he stood there toe-to-toe with their, quote, best guy in the entire sport. It's an amazing night for mixed martial arts.
Now, you mentioned that MMA part. We saw a number of hammer fists. Do you think McGregor bent the rules a little too much in this one?
No, I think he did what he said he was going to do. He was going to get a little bit in the gray area. I mean, look, when we watch this fight, we'll break it down a million times. We will go back and look at what Mayweather tried to do by pushing Conor's head back and trying to get into his head. He wanted Conor to do something stupid and to get a disqualification, I thought. He kept on trying to goat Conor into doing something dumb. He was turning his back to him constantly. I don't know what Paulie Malignaggi was saying on the broadcast by saying that Conor wasn't doing that. That Mayweather wasn't doing that. Of course he was doing that. He was trying to create a negative situation for McGregor. So, look, the hammer fists are questionable, but it's one of those situations where it's tough to see exactly, is it a hammer fist or a side punch? Things that Conor had said he was going to do right out of the gate anyway, which was kind of get inside the rule book a little bit and do things legal, but maybe a little bit in the gray area.
Now, McGregor said he wanted to keep on going. You mentioned that concussion protocol. Do you think the ref should have let him continue?
Yes, I do, and I understand why it was stopped. I wish it was not. I would love to have seen Conor on the canvas. I think it would have been better for Mayweather, to be honest, to have Conor be knocked down and actually out of the fight and have a 10 count and have it be a real KO. This is a technical knockout. This is a stoppage. So it's one of those things where for Conor, this is actually a win for him because he's able to actually say afterwards, wait a minute, I should be allowed to keep going. In my sport, you have to actually knock a guy out if they either tap him out or knock him unconscious to have a stoppage. So I really think this whole night was such a big moment for Conor McGregor, and he will walk into some very big paydays very soon, either in mixed martial arts or in boxing, depending on what direction he wants to go.
Now, people are already calling for Mayweather-McGregor too. Mayweather seems to say he's done and he's not fighting anymore. Do you believe him?
Yeah, I do, because the excuses are all built in now. I mean, the excuses are coming from boxing fast and furious, that this is a guy who was a shell of himself, that he should stay retired, that Conor McGregor went in there and showed that Mayweather's career is over. So why should he ever step foot in the ring again? There'll be a ton of money for it. I would watch. I'd go to it. I'd pay for it. To see that fight. I told you in the pre-fight that this fight was going to be entertaining and worth your $100. It was 100% worth the $100. I know there were pay-per-view issues around the country, but hopefully you saw it. And if you did, I think you got your money's worth, and you saw a really entertaining fight, way more entertaining than Pacquiao Mayweather in 2015.
Well, Matt, I know we have to let you go and go to that press conference and get all that recap, but we really appreciate it. Where can we find more from you?
At Sports Talk Matt on Twitter. You can find me there.
All right. Enjoy all the craziness of Las Vegas tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Sure,
appreciate it.
Plenty of it. All right. Well, he was basically saying that it was well worth the $100, as a lot of people were saying on Twitter and the buzz around town from what I'm seeing on social media. And for you, what was the most exciting part of this fight?
The most exciting part of this fight for me was seeing Conor start. He came out aggressive. We knew he would do that, but I was surprised really how many punches he landed. Just looked so much more aggressive than Mayweather. We kind of expected that, but I thought the footwork of McGregor was really good. I thought he landed some really powerful punches early on. I thought he had a game plan, and he executed it pretty well, but his average, in his last 10 fights, his average fight time was 8 minutes, 38 seconds. So going 10 rounds in a boxing fight against a world-class fighter, that's going to wear you down. And I think, in the end, he might have been the best fighter on the day, but I think just fatigue really wore him down. And credit Mayweather for staying in there long enough to get that fatigue to set in.
Well, we knew Conor was going to come out hot. We knew Mayweather was going to play defense in the first 3 rounds. I don't know about you, but after that 3rd round, I was thinking McGregor might have this one.
It really looked like that, but as Mayweather's always done, he waits and waits, and then he counterpunches. He goes on the offensive. He wears his opponent out. Counts on that fatigue being a factor, and in round 9, he really took to McGregor. Really some good combos. Really punishing his face, getting some body shots, punishing him against the ropes. And then in round 10, I think the referee was right to stop the fight. I mean, this is a guy who I don't think he could take it anymore.
Our producer, Andre Kachatourian, in round 9, he said, how is this guy still standing? And I think we all thought the same thing. Give him credit where credit's due for staying in it that long. Now let's talk about some of the fun fanfare that happened. In my ear, I'm hearing that Matt Perino from UFC.com is on the line, so we don't want to waste his time. He's also in Las Vegas, so let's get him going and ask some questions. Matt, how's it going?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Now, you are in where all the action is. What was the atmosphere like in there tonight?
The atmosphere was absolutely amazing. I think it's what everybody was hoping for and why this was such a big fight. I mean, the crowd filed in, late, like most boxing fights, I would imagine. And when they were finally here, I mean, the anticipation, it was crazy. I mean, once McGregor made his walk out to the octagon, or to the ring, I'm sorry, this place was buzzing. And then Floyd made his walk out. And when they were doing the stare down, it was just like nothing like we've ever seen before. I mean, coming from the octagon, I mean, something that I cover all the time, watching it was really just an amazing thing. And then to have Conor come out in the first couple rounds and, was winning. He was winning. So it was just, it was building and building and building. And then what you thought would probably eventually happen. But wow, what an amazing night.
Now, people in your world, the UFC world, were saying all along you can't count McGregor out. You can't count McGregor out. And what do you think that this does, him lasting 10 rounds, giving it a heck of a fight, does for the UFC moving forward?
It's great for the UFC. I mean, just the platform, I think, was great for both sports. It brought both collections of fans kind of to the dance floor, and we all got to kind of see what the other was all about. And I think that what Conor did was come out here and show that he wasn't going to take a step back. He came out and he threw the left hand like he did, but it's a different game. It's something that I'm not even 100% completely familiar with, boxing. I mean, this is my first live fight, and you saw it right away. I mean, he landed a couple of big shots that I felt like Floyd kind of, stopped in his tracks and was like, oh, wow, he does have some power. Those shots in 4-ounce gloves, both from a defensive standpoint for the guy he's hitting and at throwing those punches, it was just different. They didn't have the same impact. But you know, he earned everybody's respect. I mean, you look at social media, everybody's going nuts. I mean, it was a great night.
Now, Mayweather even said that McGregor was better than he thought he was. Was this the best fight that we could have asked for?
If you ask the UFC side of things, we would have loved to see him knock out Floyd Mayweather. what a like world-changing event that would be. But this is, you know, Floyd said it best. I mean, you know, I saw somebody tweet it took a 0-0 boxer making his professional debut to force Floyd into an exciting fight. And that's true. I mean, it took somebody with, you know, kind of maybe not the experience of a Manny Pacquiao or a Marcus Maidana, some guys that have kind of played the game. It took somebody that was going to force Mayweather to come forward, and he was comfortable going forward. You could see in the later rounds, Mayweather really settle in and understand, okay, I've taken everything that he's going to give me. The cardio started to slip, and that's when he started to pour it on. And it's amazing. Everybody says that Mayweather's not a power puncher, but, you know, against a guy in Conor who doesn't have a background in boxing, you could see those power shots landing and having an impact. And the fight was stopped as he was standing up, but it was pretty much over at that point.
What do you think this does for McGregor? We heard Mayweather say he's done. We believe him. He's 50-0. He's 40 years old. On the other hand, we have a young star in Conor McGregor, 29 years old. Proved to the world today that he can hang in boxing. He's obviously a star in UFC. Where do you think he goes from here?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. You said, where does Floyd go from here?
Where does McGregor go from here?
Where does McGregor go from here? I mean, there's so many options. I mean, I've heard, you know, different schools of thought. There's a lightweight title that he still has yet to defend. He still hasn't defended his featherweight title. I think the first move would probably obviously to come back at 155 pounds. There's an interim title fight going down at UFC 216 between Kevin Lee and Tony Ferguson. The winner there is going to set themselves up, hopefully, for a fight with Conor McGregor, maybe later this year, early next year. There's always that third belt out there too. You know, I hear rumblings all the time that Conor really wants to go for that third belt, and Tyron Woodley is holding the welterweight championship. George St. Pierre is returning, as we announced tonight, at UFC 217 to fight for the middleweight title. Who knows if he can make his way back down to welterweight, a super fight with Conor McGregor and George St. Pierre. Wow. I mean, you talk about, you know, two superstars colliding tonight in Floyd and Conor. GSP, McGregor in an octagon. Whew, that'll be something else.
Well, Matt, it is 1:22 a.m. over here on the East Coast. I know it's a little earlier there in Las Vegas, but we know you're in for a long night, so we appreciate your time. Where can we find more from you?
Head over to UFC.com. We'll have a recap, and we'll have all the post-fight coverage. Wow, it was a fun detour into the boxing world, but I'm ready to get back in the octagon. UFC 215, Demetrius Johnson.
Well, a great night for UFC and a great night for boxing. Thanks so much, Matt. Let's talk about the fanfare of this one. Obviously, a lot of celebs in the building. I tried to write them down as I saw them on the screen. LeBron James, Ozzy Osbourne, Olivia Munn, and Jamie Foxx on the red carpet together. I don't know what that was about. Yeah, maybe they're in a movie together. I don't know.
And Paul Pierce is there, the truth.
Paul Pierce, of course.
Didn't have two cell phones up this time, though.
Another kind of former Celtic at this point. Yeah. Isaiah Thomas was also there. And Robert Kraft in the building. He had flown in J-Lo and A-Rod on his private plane.
He always makes an entrance, Robert Kraft.
He knows how to do it right. As far as the other moments that I saw on Twitter that people were loving, Conor McGregor getting taped up with his suit on. Mm-hmm. They loved his haircut. And, of course, Mayweather making his entrance with the ski mask on.
Yeah, it was really weird. It was some like Sith Lord, you know, if you're Star Wars fans, like a Jedi kind of thing. It was really interesting. But the show is really part of it. It's a spectacle. You know, other than a fight, it's a spectacle. You see all these celebrities, goofy entrances. We saw a really goofy entrance in one of the undercard fights. So it's really an entertainment event as much as a sporting event, and I think that's part of the experience as well.
Well, Nick, truth be told, when they announced that the pay-per-view was getting delayed because they were having issues with it, I thought maybe this is headed for disaster. And if one of them got knocked out right away, most likely Conor McGregor, right. I think, oh, people are going to be asking for their money back. But I think this was the best outcome they could have expected. It
really was an amazing fight. There's plenty of action, like we said earlier, more action than we're really typically accustomed to seeing from Mayweather fights. McGregor really landed some powerful punches. He went 10 rounds, which I think is a lot further than a lot of people thought. And he really took it to Floyd. And I think that's what people wanted to see most. They wanted to see a competitive fight where there's belief that either person could win. and I think we got that. It was much more, even though the Pacquiao fight with Mayweather went the distance, it really was, this was a really more exciting fight. Like, you got much more for your money on this one.
Would you consider this a win for both guys? Now we get Floyd, who's able to sail off into the sunset, ride off into the sunset, 50-0. He remains undefeated. And you got McGregor, a budding superstar. This guy shot up on social media in the past few months promoting this fight, and he proved himself tonight.
He really did. I mean, he can box with really good boxers like Floyd Mayweather. I'm not sure that boxing is really where he should focus going forward. I think he should go back to UFC, where he's proven to be one of the best. He told Jim Gray in the Showtime interview after the fight that he will go back to UFC. I think everybody wants to see another Nate Diaz fight. They've split the first two. It's one of the better rivalries in combat sports right now. That would be an incredible fight. Hopefully we can get it by the end of the year, but I think that's probably the best play for Conor right now. He can fight anyone, and he'll draw huge pay-per-view numbers. I don't think this loss does anything for his popularity or his stardom or his ability to sell fights. He's just as much of a superstar or more because of his performance.
I know many people are excited to see what Conor McGregor does next. I know I am. That was a great fight. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Now get some sleep.